In this lesson, we'll be going over a few tips in the Details tab for lights. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a quick render to our picture viewer of this scene. So I'm just going to hit Shift R and we'll start that render. Okay, so what you can see here is that the light that we have here in the background is rendering in our shot. So let's take a look at why that's happening, and really I don't love the way that this looks. Now sometimes you're going to be happy with lights rendering in your scene. It might be something that you want. So it's good to be aware of the switch that controls this, and that is located in the Details tab of your lights. So I'm looking at this light back light right here, and that is the one located just there behind our light bulb image. And if we come in here, you can see that both the show in render and show in reflection options are checked on. So show in render means exactly that, that you're going to activate this option if you want to render an area light. This really only pertains to area lights, these kind of square sorts of lights that are going to get these options. You're going to activate that if you want to render the area light itself. And depending on the light source and maybe anything else that you've changed, most of the time it's going to come up white, which is what we saw here in this image. So that doesn't really look that great. So I'm going to turn off the show in render checkbox and hit Shift R again to show you what that's going to look like. Okay, so now you can see that outside of our image, the light is no longer showing like it was before. However, we still can see the reflection through the image from the other checkbox that we have checked on, which is the show in reflection. And because this piece of plastic is a two-sided piece here, that's why we're able to see that through, almost as if it's just being cut away on the sides. So whenever you want that show in reflection option checked on, you're going to activate that if you want to mirror an area light in another object. So because this again is two pieces, that's why we're seeing it. Now let's go ahead and check off the show in reflection option, and we'll hit Shift R again to render again and see what this looks like. Okay, so you can see now it's totally gone. We can't see this at all anymore compared to what we had before. Now, you may be a little unhappy with this result as well. You may want it to be there, but not be quite so visible, not have it be just so obvious. So there's a way that we can achieve that as well. So I'll go ahead and minimize that. And what you'll want to do is go into your light, still in the Details tab, and you'll want to have the show in reflection option turned on. And when that's checked on, you have the visibility multiplier option. And right now that's set to 100%. If we want to have just a little bit of that reflection, but not quite so much, let's turn it down to something like 20%, and we'll do another Shift R render to see what those results look like in comparison. Okay, so you can see a big difference here. We do have the show in reflection option checked on, and you can see that we're able to see that light, but it's much more subtle and believable now, and helps to define this very transparent plastic better than if we didn't have any reflections on that. So turning on your lights in your renderer or in your reflection options is a great way to help define really transparent objects such as this one, but you also need to know how to do that and when to use which options to be able to get the most realistic and pretty looking result. Now you can also use that visibility multiplier that we just learned about with the here we go, with the show and render option as well. So if I want it to show up in the render but just not be quite so visible, that will also apply to the show and render. So just so you can see that as well, we'll go ahead and look at that one. And there you can see we get a nice kind of not so visible light. It's not, you know, perfectly 100% harsh white like it was before. So again, those are some of the different ways that you can control the visibility of your actual lights if they will end up being in the viewable area of your camera. So in our next lesson, we're going to learn about a similar thing that you can do if you're going to be using reflection planes, and how you can use compositing tags to achieve a similar effect, since a plane isn't going to have all the same options that an actual light would. So stick around and we'll be learning about those in the next lesson.